What's going on, everybody? This is Childish. We're back at it again. We got ourselves the next unit and rune showcase for the month of August. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Once a month, every month, we do a unit and rune showcase. Generally after the rune removal day, just take a look at everything that I got going on with regards to my monster box and why I do the things that I do. This time around in August, we didn't make a lot of rune changes, but it was I'd say about a week ago, right about mid-August or so, we went ahead and did a rune removal pack so that I can make the necessary changes because I decided to rune up some new monsters. And with the addition of the live PvP, I wanted to mix and match some of my runes on the units. So let's get right on the way. So this one's going to be a little bit different. We got ourselves, generally we just kind of go top to bottom, left to right on the units. I'm going to put a timestamp in the YouTube description down below. So if you want to check out the sections that I'm going to do, that might be able to help you out. This time around, we're going to mix it up and we're going to focus on the teams, talking about all the units, but talking about the teams, grouping the units into teams that I use. So we're going to be focusing on our B10 teams, our Rifter World teams, our Guild War decks, so on and so forth. So if you've seen my previous videos and you're looking for a particular team, and as far as how I run it or whatnot, you can go ahead and scroll underway. Keep in mind that some of the units that I utilize in these teams, they're kind of intertwined. So some of the teams or some of the units that I'll be showcasing the runes might be introduced early on in the segment. So make sure you consider that fact. So let's go ahead and start out with the B10 teams, and most notably the Giants B10 teams. As you guys know, that's kind of like the start of where it kind of goes with regards to what you're trying to do to the game. You're coming in, you're getting into that Kairos, and then you're working on your Giants B10 team in an effort to get those necessary moves to move on to different parts of the game. My Giants B10 team is going to be comprised of 4 main units, and then I have some alternates based on what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to test. My first 4 units are my 2 Lushens, my Galleon, and my Stella. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Lushen, this one is on a broken set, running attack, crit damage attack with about 160 overall speed there, 164. Good attack power, good critical rate, good critical damage, overall decent stats. You'll notice that this trend of amount of speed is going to go with all my attackers. Generally my attackers, attack, crit damage attack, speed, crit damage attack, or attack, crit damage attack ones are generally in that 150 to 170 range, or 140 to 170 range as far as speed goes. The speed, crit damage attack units are generally in that 180 to 200 range, so you kind of see how they all kind of intertwine. That's generally what I shoot for, because that's when I'm using them in different aspects of the game, most notably Guild Wars. I need to have a little bit of synergy to go with my teams, and so having them all around that same speed really helps, letting them go one right after the other. But going back to the Giants B10 team, the double Lushens, obviously the goal is to put your strongest runes on here so that you can essentially clear the waves relatively quickly and get to the stage boss so you can finish them off real fast. If you'll notice here, this Rage Shield set was on my Pungbeck. This was a recent change. Taking my runes off of Pungbeck and putting them on this Lushen. I had a Despair Blade set on him. I took it off so I can get a little bit more critical damage and more or less the same amount of attack. So if you guys remember, my Despair Blade set had probably plus 7,000 HP, so it was a little bit more tankier, but more or less the same stats that you see right here, minus about 70 or so critical damage. So the fact of the matter is that I will explain it as I go along with regards to the B10 runs. Your goal is to create well-rounded Lushens as far as the damage that you can do, so that you can not only clear things fast when we're talking about arena and whatnot, but with regards to Giants B10, Necropolis B10, depending on how you use it, you want to have a certain amount of attack and critical damage so that you can essentially clear the waves. Obviously with the attack buff, if you can use it, right, or if it's available. But if you don't have the attack buff, you still want to have your Lushen, endgame Lushens, at a level where it can clear the wave without the attack buff on. So being able to clear any wave, regardless if you have the attack buff or not, is going to be pretty darn crucial when we're talking about endgame Giants B10 runs or Necropolis B10 runs, depending on how you use it. Next one up here, we have ourselves Galleon, okay? And Galleon is running Violent Focus, Speed, Attack, HP. If you guys remember way back in the day, he was running Speed, Attack, more or less the same speed and whatnot. Accuracy was at 100%, and critical rate was just his habit lower, but he had about 11 plus 1100 plus 1200 hit points. I made him a little bit more of a hybrid. I wanted to be a little bit more tanky. I noticed that I didn't need as much accuracy. As you guys know, regardless if you have 100% accuracy or not, all the units have a 50% chance to resist. So I went ahead and dimmed down my Galleon so that he still has more or less the accuracy that you need, but now has a little bit more survivability depending on where I'm utilizing it. So yeah, that's the big one for there. And then of course we got Stella up in this mix. Stella is runed. She's runed in such that she's been used in multiple aspects of the game. Giants B10, Dragons B10, and Rector Worlds 5. You guys will see me mention her time and time and again. An amazing unit out there for trying to accelerate your runs. You're going to be making these compositions that allow you to clear it and clear it good, consistently. But eventually you're going to be looking at units that can help you accelerate your runs. And Stella is definitely one of those units, providing that defense break, that extra defense break out there that is going to allow you to continuously just push through the waves and allow your units to focus down the unit. In addition to that, you got the branding effect, and then you got the attack bar reduction and attack bar reduction skill hitting up to 7 times according to your attack speed. So making them speedy is going to get yourself a lot of attacks. That being said, the biggest thing here is the branding effect, 25% increased damage when it is on. So that's really going to accelerate your runs, whichever one you're trying to do here. So as far as the alternate spots, I generally use Theomars in this mix. I'm running a Violent Blade, Theomars, attack or damage attack. Attack or damage attack or speed or damage attack. It really just depends on the runes that you got. I prefer running attack or damage attack if I can get the speed subsets that I want. I have played around with a speed variation, but I just don't have the runes to really make up for the lack of attack power onto. But overall, it does pretty darn well. You guys have seen him in the Guild Wars and the arena quite a bit. He hits pretty hard, upwards of 30 to 35k on the first and second skill, depending on if he has a speed buff, attack buff, so on and so forth. Pretty hard hitting Theomars out there. I have been playing around with a couple of alternatives, so I'll talk about those. We got ourselves Xiao, the newly changed Xiao. Water Kung Fu Girl, running the Violent Revenge right now, attack, crit damage attack, generally for my Necropolis B10 team, but I have been playing around with her a little bit. Not too shabby, but again, this third skill that can do an absurd amount of damage now, since it has that ability that allows it to inflict damage by increasing inflicted damage by 50% for each harmful effect. Because it is a random attack, it can hit anybody. It has the potential to hit towers, so that's why I've been kind of shying away from it. But again, still testing it out with different compositions to see if I can make it do what it do. The biggest one that I've had probably the most success with is Tarq. Tarq has allowed me to, I think, accelerate my runs a little bit more. I use it normally for Dragons B10, but we'll talk about it for Giants B10. Speed, crit damage attack, okay. Quite a bit of speed, a little bit low on the attack bar, but overall decent critical rate, decent critical damage. Does really well. So again, why use Tarq in this mix versus like a Theomars or the Xiao? Out of these three alternates, I actually like Tarq better, and I'll explain why. With regards to double Lushens, in this composition, right, Stella, double Lushen, and Galleon, we already have a really decent leader skill. The attack power leader skill running for the dungeons. So we're covered on that aspect. After that, we're just looking for ways of accelerating the runs. And as you guys know, the Lushens is a very crucial aspect of the B10's runs, really speeding up the process from stage 1 to stage 5. So when we're bringing a unit like this that is going to group the units together and potentially hit one monster or whatever, grouping this unit together with this group hunt is going to reduce the cooldown times of those skills that it pulls with the unit. The unit that it pulls is going to reduce the cooldown time of those skills. So when we're talking about this particular unit and the units that we're bringing to the table, we're bringing Galleon, first auto attack defense breaker. We're bringing Stella, first turn defense breaker, and then of course Lucian's having the amputation magic at 4 turns. Having the opportunity to pull that in is going to be good, but generally speaking, my goal is to reduce the cooldown times of Stella and Galleon, most notably Galleon, because again, this is the skill that really accelerates your run out there, leading up to stage 5, and then of course stage 5 boss having that branding effect available is going to be crucial to accelerate the run as well. So you can see why Tarq can be definitely a great unit out there. He has its own self buff with the second skill, so again, I'm a big fan of that. All three units are great, but again, I like that Tarq is the one that I'm kind of liking the most here, for the most part here. So yeah, let's see. We got ourselves Dragons B10. Dragons B10. So the staples on that particular unit, that particular team, are going to be Verdehile, Galleon, Stella. Verdehile, Galleon, Stella, and then we got Tarq. And then last but not least, the unit that you've been seeing me use time and time and again is Luna. So let's take a look at Verdehile first. Verdehile is running that Violent Revenge, speed, critical rate, attack. I like the violent set on him. Obviously, as you guys know, we generally start out with like a swift set. Working your way up there, getting yourself some nice runes to get the critical rate that you need, so you can maximize on that third skill. Boosting the attack bar of all allies by 20%. Really strong unit. As you progress and get those extra violent runes, this is definitely one of those units that I would consider, putting on the violent set. And then if you have the opportunity to, having that revenge set is pretty darn nice. Helps out just with, the B10 runs, but the TOA, if you utilize it in TOA, can definitely improve those boss stages, helping you clear out those boss stages. So, speed, critical rate, attack. Depending on if you're using it mostly for Dragons B10, I recommend attack on 6. If you're using it more for TOA, I like HP on there. If you got crazy HP substats on the 1, the 3, and the 5 slot, that's fine too. Then you can go with attack on there. But at the end of the day, I like the speed, critical rate, and then your choice of attack or HP depending on where you're using it the most on. I'm using Verdehile literally for Dragons P10. That's the big thing. So I'm trying to run it, as YOLO as possible, as much damage as possible, so that I can, clear quickly. If I had the choice, though, I would essentially look for, good critical rate substat runes on my 1, 3, 5, and 6 slot, as well as the 2 slot, so that I can get away from the critical rate slot on 4 and essentially put critical damage on there. That would be my kind of ultimate goal. I haven't gotten the runes to do that yet, but I'm working on it. Next one up, okay, we already went over Tarq, Galleon, and let's see, we already went over Stella. So yeah, Luna is probably going to be the last one at the Dragons B10. Swift Broken, attack, critical damage, attack. Okay, so overall, great attack power, great speed, critical rate, critical damage is good. This is definitely underestimated. If you guys remember, Xiaomi made a video a while back, and then I showcased it about 2 to 3 months ago, talking about this unit and how it's definitely overrated, underrated and overlooked when it comes to the Dragons B10. This skill, generally, people think that it's just based on attack power, but it's actually also based on enemy's max HP, which means it can do an absurd amount of damage, similar to your Spectra, the Fire Griffin, or the Sigmaris, the Water Phoenix. Same kind of concept, but still can do amazing damage. And the reason why I choose this over any one of those three is because my YOLO comp is fast enough to clear it without really being concerned about the speed towers. Generally, people want to use a safe approach with like a Spectra or whatnot, because Spectra is going to bring that second attack based on enemy's max HP, but also bring the AoE slow and attack bar reduction, which is really good for starting out when you're first building that YOLO comp. But then as you soon realize that the better your runes get, the more you can kind of veer away from the towers and just focus on grinding the boss out. And so in that aspect, I like to use a skill like this, because a skill like this, with the runes that I have and the attack tower max or whatnot, current critical rate, critical damage, attack, I'm hitting anywhere from 45 to 55k on a defense broken on this defense broken boss, with the branding effect. So we're talking a good chunk of the boss's HP. In addition to that, because it has the ability to increase your attack bar 100% when you're at full HP, then you can essentially go right behind it with a skill that's going to hit for anywhere from 20 to 30k in this particular skill. And I don't even have it maxed out here, so it's pretty darn strong. I really like this unit. As far as the alternative go, you guys have seen me use a couple of units over the course of my time. Xiao was one, Theo was one, and you've already seen those runes. Really any great single target or AoE based water unit, like a Taor even, is going to be great. You could even consider using a second Tarq in there. A lot of people use a double Tarq formation. Verdehile, Galleon, Stella, and a double Tarq is great, because again, more opportunities to bring in more units, provide those defense break-in. It does really good if you don't have some of these Nat 5s out there. Of course, Again, you got the Sigmars, you got the Spectra, you got Hua. Hua is a good choice here. I do not use Hua anymore. It's been a long time since I used Hua in the Dragon's B10, but again, it is another option if you have it there. Definitely consider that. Other than that, though, that is pretty much it for my Dragons B10 run. When it comes to my Giants B10 run, the team that I talked about is generally running anywhere from 45 to 55 seconds on average. Dragons B10 is anywhere from 57 to about 105 seconds on average. So about a minute run with regards to this team. Really, really happy with that. It's come a long way considering how much work we've had to put into this to make this team where it is today. So um, let's go ahead and move on to the third and final B10 run. We got ourselves Necropolis B10 again. A B10 dungeon that's available to anybody at any given time, but should be focused on when you're into that late to end game stage. We got a lot of people out there that are really trying to create a well-rounded Giants, Dragon, and Necro B10 team all together. But honestly, the focus should be on Giants B10 first, then Dragons, then Necropolis. As you guys know, some of the key units I'm going to mention here today, the runes are based, the rune setups are based around the two main sets for this, which is Violent and Revenge. And so, I mean, obviously, you cannot rune these units to the best of your abilities if you are not, if you don't have the runes to begin with, and those need to be, collected from the Dragons B10 run. So, if you're thinking about, creating that Necro B10 team, but your Dragons B10 team is not too solid, or you're still trying to rune up monsters for other aspects of the game that you need violent runes for, I mean, just focus on that, and then when you feel like you're good and ready to move on to Necropolis and want to get yourself some runes that are going to allow you to excel in the end game, then move on to that. Necropolis, I have two different teams. The team that you guys saw me use lately was the Lushen, Zhao Lin. We got Tarq. We got Colleen, and then we got Rigel. We got Rigel. So Lushen, Tarq, Rigel, Colleen, and I believe that's it. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there we go. So in this particular composition, I'm running Lushen as a leader skill. Again, a lot of people are like, Lushen, why are you utilizing that? The common teams that people like to use are mono element teams, most notably fire. Units like Shiwa, units like Adrian, units like Rogue, Colleen. I mean, all those are going to be really, really well starting out. But if you are obviously looking to improve your team and mix it up with some of the units that you already have, then realize that you can mix and match some units. I mean, it is a dark elemental dungeon, so that's going to allow you to bring units from all different elements. But when you're considering that, you got to have to look at certain units that are going to provide universal leader skills that's going to assist all those units to bring it to the table. This is one that's definitely going to do that, so that is why I use Lushen. Since it is a neutral element, right? Lushen is still going to do a hefty amount of damage when it comes to clearing the waves from stage 1 to stage 5. So that's going to help in that aspect. And again, of course, we have two units here, two units that are providing attack slows and defense breaks. Okay, so defense break on first one, then attack slow on second, and reverse on this one here. We got attack speed decrease on first skill, and then of course the defense break on the second one. So overall, a well-rounded team. I got some good slows, I got some good defense breaks, and then I got a unit that's going to assist in reducing the cooldown times of everybody, so that I can essentially get those main skills off and really move through the levels here. Let's see. We've looked at the Lushens. We've looked at the Tarq. Zalin, I think we looked at attack or damage attack. The speed or the sequencing that I got going on. It is we got Colleen going first. We got Lushen. Lushen is supposed to be going second. I swap out a rune here. This rune here is a speed rune. I swap this out for an attack rune and drop its speed a little bit, so that Lushen can go after Colleen, and then Tarq can go after Lushen, and then Zalin and Rigel is how it goes there. So Lushen, Colleen, Lushen, Tarq, Zalin, and then Rigel. Now, why is that important? Because Lushen's skill is the main skill that clears the waves really, really quick. So I want to have the opportunity to pull Lushen and reduce that effect, so that I can have that amputation magic available really quick. Okay, that's the main team that I've been utilizing. The team that I have been testing out was actually recommended to me by a subscriber. Since I recently pulled Seara about a month ago, he had a guildie of his that was using a double Lushen, Seara, Colleen, and Fukuoka. Of course, I don't have Fuku, I have Rigel. So I went ahead and tested it out. Double Lushen, Seara, and Fuko, and then, or sorry, Rigel, and then Colleen. And for me, that actually does pretty darn well. I'd say it goes anywhere from, it could be anywhere from a minute 25 to a minute 55, but I'd say on average it's probably right around that 140, 145 range. So, this one's a little bit different. I do not have all the multi-hitting. I don't have all the slows and defense breaks by utilizing these two. I only have Rigel here, but that being said, even though I have less defense breaks, less slows, I also have two units out there that can provide AoE ignore defense. So I'm really going to clear those waves really quick. And then of course I have a unit here that's also providing a way of doing damage based on ignoring defense, and it's going to help at the end stage when we're trying to reduce the shield on the boss. As you guys know, there's a certain amount of hits that need to be done on the boss before you can clear it. So a unit like this is definitely going to help balance out units that are doing the work leading up from stage 1 to stage 5, so I can get it done. So essentially, going back to that Giants B10 talk we were talking about, same concept here. When we're talking about utilizing Lushens in this aspect, the only way that this is truly going to work is by getting your Lushens strong enough to get them to the point where they can clear a wave without the attack buff. Obviously, the goal is to have Colleen go first, Lucian go second, so you don't have to worry about it. But you definitely want yourself to have that attack buff available, or sorry, have that ability to clear it out even with the attack buff available. Because if you're running Devolution, if your Colleen buffs up and doesn't get any additional procs after that, Lushen goes, does his Ant Magic, then second turn around, Colleen's not going to have that skill available. She may Valiant Proc or get lucky, but chances are likely she's not going to. So you don't want your Lushen to almost kill everything and then waste another 10 to 15 seconds clearing the wage from everybody else, and they potentially wasting their big skills. So that's the big topic there with regards to that. The only concern that you have to have with this is regards to making sure that your units are still relatively tanky and such. As you guys know, a lot of people recommend that 16 to 18k kind of a range when it comes to hit points, and then of course a decent amount of defense depending on the unit you have. All these units have different base defenses, but I think the easiest thing to focus on is the HP. You will notice that my Lushens are not running a decent amount of HP, but again, when we factor in the HP tower, when we factor in the shield buff, when we factor in a couple of different things, I realize that I'm really darn close to where I need to be, and so I'm just kind of pushing that threshold as to, is it safe, is it not safe? Now, again, I wouldn't do what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't recommend what I'm doing right now unless you have done a lot of testing and know that 95 or more % of the time you're able to clear this without too much RNG, like too much bad luck. But I would definitely recommend having your units be a little bit more tanky, just in case things go wrong. Again, if you're confident in your abilities of your units to clear waves and do enough damage to clear waves relatively effectively, then you don't have to. You could be less concerned about the defensive side if you have a stronger offensive side. That's how it always comes down to, guys. When you're setting up these teams, we set up for the consistent. We set up for that consistent clear, and then we continuously work on getting it faster. And then, of course, when we think we got it fast enough, it's not good enough, right? We want to continuously make it better and see if we can push the envelope even more. Probably the biggest example was, like I was saying, for me, Dragons B10. My composition was originally had Spectra for quite a bit to slow down the towers. Then I realized I can push it even harder. I don't need to be worried about the towers if I can just do that much more damage by bringing in Luna, bringing in Theo, bringing in another damage dealer that's going to provide good overall damage. But in addition to that, that skill based on enemy smash AP to take advantage of the boss's stats and whatnot. So overall, I'm really happy with this team. The double Lushen, Seara, Rigel, and then Colleen team. Rigel's always going to get pulled, and he's always going to go for Colleen. So I mean, it's easy to keep Colleen alive because she's a lot tankier. In addition to that, all my other 3 units are win DPS, so they're going to focus on Rigel pretty darn quickly. So that's pretty much it for the B10 runs. And again, that's kind of a minute 45. Giants B10s like about the 45 second to a minute, and then of course the Dragons B10 about 57 seconds to about a minute and 5. on average. So let's take a look at the Rift of World team real quick. Rift of World R5 again. This is also when we're talking about R5, we're talking about endgame, and we really can't try to push the limits on the R5 until we get the foundation of what we need to bring to the table as far as basic stats and whatnot when it comes to these teams. And so considering that fact, the work has to be done in the B10 dungeons before you can even consider trying to push your way through R5. While you may be able to get yourself in a way to clear it a couple times here and there, you want to have that consistent clear. And again, you have to farm the foundation, right? You have to get those runes first before you can really consider the grindstones. The grindstones are not going to do much for you if you are trying to put them on runes that you're eventually going to replace because they're just not high quality. So make sure that you're doing the work in the B10 runs before you really focus on Rift of Worlds. I don't even play around with Rift of Worlds. I don't recommend even playing around with Rift of World 1 to 3 anymore unless you're just hanging out with some friends. When you're at the ability where you can consistently clear R4 or higher, then I think that's definitely a good starting point as far as really looking to push your end game runes to higher stats. So R4, it's going through a lot of changes right now. I'll be honest with you, but the current team that I had before the recent video that Kazuto I made with Kazuto here, it's going to be Colleen, Chasun, we got Hua and Stella in the backline, and then my frontliners, depending on what leader skills I need, I'm going to have the Panda Warrior. We're going to have Lisa, and then we will have Diaz up in here. So let's take a look at units that we haven't ruined up. Chasun, Violent Will, Speed, Hit Point, running Will on it because I do use it in the Guild War defenses a little bit. And so, good overall resistance, no accuracy there, but again, my focus is keeping my units, healed up and making sure I can, utilize that immunity on the first turn when it comes to Guild Wars at that aspect. With regards to Rift of Worlds, it's obviously a part of the mix, a great unit for that. And so, overall, decent stats. I'm going to have to eventually improve that accuracy if I want to take advantage of his first skill. Any opportunity you have to land some harmful effects is good. But of course, with this one being a low activation rate, I wasn't really too focused on that. I was focusing on its defensive stats and statistics or whatever before I was focusing on stuff that's going to help me out offensively. As you can see here, these particular skills do not require any kind of accuracy, and that's kind of the reason why I have this unit in there. I'm focused on the heal on it, not so much the glancing aspect. I can bring up the units in there for glancing. Other than that, though, that's pretty decent. Let's see. The Colleen, we've already taken a look at here. She's a little bit slower. I'm borrowing a rune for now. Speed, HP, Violent Revenge. Nothing crazy going on right there. Just decent stats. I like to keep her at about 200 plus speed. You can make do with a Violent Revenge set. You can make do with like a double revenge, triple revenge, whatever. A broken set is okay on this one, but definitely if you're going broken, I try to get at least 2 sets of revenge on there. It's extremely crucial to get that attack buff, debuff on after every single jump as soon as possible. If it's not on there and the boss gets an opportunity to go before your other opponents go or your team goes, it can definitely be fatal. So make sure you consider that aspect. Let's see. The other units that I use, okay, Fire Panda, he's gone through a lot of changes. I probably won't keep these runes on here for now, but this is just what I got on there. Speed, Hit Point, Defense, Violent Nemesis. He is the alternate for the R5 frontline. I generally use Diaz and Lisa right now. I'm actually working on building a couple of units up there so that I can get myself, 3, even possibly 4 people on the front line. Again, shout out to Kazuto. If you guys haven't seen the video, recent Educate Dominate featuring Kazuto, we went over some of the things that can essentially really improve your speed at which you clear it. I have realized that I can make some necessary changes, but it's going to have to come a little bit slower than I expected because I definitely need certain people ruined a certain way for different aspects of the game, most notably Guild Wars. Belladon is getting used a little bit more. Defense, HP. I used to run speed, HP, but I realized I got a couple runes that can, get the speed substats that I want, and still, still help out with the tankiness. So, overall though, that's pretty much it for the front line. All right, so the next unit that we're going to be talking about is one that definitely is near and dear to my heart. If you guys remember me from way back in the day, people that have been following me for quite some time, Ardella. One of my first PvP units that I built, one of my first 6-star units out there. Showcasing her plus Megan, Hua, and Rogue, I think. Did a lot of high-speed Megan attacks, followed by Ardella, so that I can, use Ardella to snipe the opponent. Early on in the day, I wasn't fortunate enough to get those Lushens that everybody had, so I played around with Ardella and saw her true potential based on, how she was built. Of course, they've made a lot of changes since they have been done, and everybody knows now how strong they can be when it comes to Rift of Worlds. Having the passive critical rate, critical damage based on how much HP you've lost, and then of course we have ourselves Magic Arrow that has a skill, auto attack skill, that's going to increase the damage. Damage of this effect is going to be increased depending on how many harmful effects. So when we're talking about Rift of Worlds 5 that has 5 to 6 harmful effects at any given time, this skill could put out some damage. And even though it's not on a violent set, it's still going to be putting out some overall great damage just due to the raw output of this skill. So it's going to be good. That's probably the big change in there. We're going to be working on slowly stripping away some of the violent sets so I can re-rune these guys and get them off of violent to reduce that counter trigger, the count on the boss when it comes to that. So overall though, that's what works for me. Running 2 to 3 up in the front, generally going to be Lisa, and then of course Diaz, and in the back line, Chasun, Colleen, Stella, and Hua. But lately I've been running Ardella in there for the Stella, and it's been doing pretty darn good. Let's see. We got ourselves the Guild Wars teams. So we'll look at the Guild Wars decks here. We've already talked about, obviously, a lot of the units here. But first and foremost, probably the one that you guys get tired of seeing of time and time and again. Charlotte, Megan, Lushen combo. It is my go-to team versus any wind/water/light/dark composition that is not running a super fast attack bar reducer, or running like a lot of a support. If they're not running an attack bar booster, taking in Megan in there at 237 speed is going to be more than enough speed to get that first turn, have Charlotte follow through with the third skill, providing the attack bar reduction and the glancing effect, possibly with a stun because I'm running the despair set on her, and then of course Lushen to follow through with the ignore damage effect. So why is this composition pretty darn clutch? Because again, being able to manipulate the attack bar is pretty darn strong, but because of the fact that these two units just put out some overall great damage, regardless of the fact that if I don't have a defense break on the units or not, Charlotte is still going to be doing a really, really good amount of damage here. Generally, Charlotte does anywhere from 10 to 15k AoE without the defense break, but I have the attack buff. And then of course, this particular Lushen here on the Rage Shield is going to be running anywhere from 10.5k to about 11k damage right now, and that's with the max critical damage tower in Glory, in the Glory shop, as well as the Guild shop, a maxed wind tower, and then a max attack tower. So you can see, kind of put those all in perspective, and you can see how they can be, really, 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 really strong. A composition like this, again, it's fast, it's aggressive. If the person doesn't have, essentially, with these YOLO comps that are running, or these other comps that are running, if they essentially don't have 40k, 45k across the board, I'm generally going to knock out 2, if not all 3 of their units, and then after that it's pretty much kind of clean up the mess. So the defense buff from Megan and the shield buff from Lushen is going to help me soak up a couple of hits while I clear out the rest. Take a look at the Megan. We actually haven't looked at her runes yet. Speed, hit point, accuracy. We're running accuracy on 6 because we have good defense, good speed, good HP here. I don't have a lot of options when it comes to speed and defense runes on this slot, so this is why we're running that. Obviously, when we look at the way that I'm running my particular team, I'm not really too focused on having a high amount of accuracy, because literally all I'm trying to do is get the first turn, get that attack buff, and kind of move forward. I could, you could potentially consider the concept of using a violent set, but when we're talking about putting a violent set on here, violent will, will is going to be standard. If I put a violent set on here, I'm going to lose out on a little bit of the speed that would give me that kind of a gap that I need to make sure that I'm above the speed of my opponent. And the teams that I go up against, they're generally going to be anywhere in that 225 speed or lower. Only the top guilds out there are going to be running certain support units that are having upwards of like 230, 240 speed, I generally will stay away from that if I know who they are. But for the most part, 99% of the fights, I'm going to um, run this team, face roll this team into anybody, and essentially clear 2 out of the 3 units no matter what. Because again, even though they may have will, they may have nemesis or whatever, my units are synced, and so I'm going to just put out just sheer raw damage with this mix. So if you have a Charlotte and you're not using it, you better ask somebody. Okay, get on that, jump on it, get to it, and be about it. It's an amazing unit. I'm gonna do a unit showcase / like monster spotlight vid down the road so you guys can see what this unit can bring. But again, an amazing unit out there. We've already looked at the Lushens, so we'll kind of move on to the next team. That's one of my main AOs there. For YOLO, right? My second YOLO team is going to be Galleon, Bernard, and then Luna. Now, you guys know that with regards to most of the people out there in the community, they utilize a Galleon, Bernard, Theo, and that's a great team. But sometimes you want to use Theo in other aspects of the game, or maybe you lose Theo. So for me, I like to use Luna in this mix. Why? Luna is dark elements, so right, so it's not going to be having any elemental disadvantage. In addition to that, with her third skill being a heavy hitter and having the opportunity to get the attack bar to full HP, or sorry, attack bar by 100% when you use with the full HP, that allows you to essentially get 2 turns, right from the get-go. And so if you have your unit synced with regards to your Bernard, mine isn't. Mine's a little bit there. I'm shy for about 30 to 35 speed. It's still going to be the compositions that I use it up against. I know that I'm going to have her go after Bernard. It's just I'm not going to run it into a situation where I may or may not get interrupted there. I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to get interrupted in that aspect. And so this skill, you guys have seen it before in the PvP arena. It hits upwards of 50k with my current runes, and then this skill's hitting anywhere from 25 to 33, 35k, depending on the person's stats and whatnot. Overall, an amazing unit. Amazing composition. Any YOLO comp or any comp out there that is running a single target threat, or maybe 2 double target threats that I know are not running will, and I can take advantage of Galleon's defense break and attack buff combo, then Luna is definitely going to be part of that YOLO team that I mix up in there. The next YOLO team is going to be Theomars, Orion, and Escher. All right, so Theomars, Orion, and Escher. This particular comp, I generally like to face roll this into Wind Monkey King comps, or Theomars comps or whatnot. Teams that I know that they have 2 threats, but their main threat is really one that I don't want to even let get 1 turn, because if it gets 1 turn, it might be over for me. So Theomars, Orion, Escher. Theomars is running the critical rate leader skill here, not Escher's HP leader skill, just for the fact that Escher has 74% critical rate, so I want to make sure that I'm at near 100% critical rate, making sure I'm critting every single time. This unit hits 4 times on this particular skill, and then of course resets if the enemy dies. So in this particular composition, Theomars, Orion, Escher, I use this a lot versus revive teams. You guys know that people set up revive teams in such a way that kind of it entices you to bring a YOLO comp. But if you can't clear them completely in 1 hit, they can revive, they can reset, and go from there. Theomars, Orion, Escher allows me to clear out their main threat, force their unit to revive, and then clear them out again. Why can I clear them out again? Because Escher's skill resets every single time I kill an opponent with it. So I'm obviously using those 2 units because I know that 99 times out of 100, I'm going to kill my opponent. So that's a pretty darn big thing for me. Next team here that I use is going to be probably one of my staples, just for the fact that it's part of my Guild War defense and Guild War offense, and so I need to make sure that my runes are on point with this unit. Veromos took a little bit of a hit in stats actually. He generally is about the 18k hit points, about 1800 and like 50 defense. He generally has like plus 1100 defense and like 222 speed. I changed 1 rune out because I'm playing around with a different unit for live PvP, and he can benefit a little bit more from the defense. I noticed that when I made this rune change, I did not see a lot of negative side effects. People are still struggling with this team. This team is even though it's something that you see time and time and again, the top 5 versus the top 5 guilds, they still, the majority of them that run up in me run against me, they will have issues with the RNG factor of this particular comp. So for me, even though the effective HP is what I'm going for in this unit, I realize that 100 defense is not make or breaking my defenses versus the top 5 guilds, and so I went ahead and made a little bit of a switch. So it's not too big. Speed's more or less the same and whatnot. Accuracy, critical rate, still more or less the same. So overall, I'm kind of happy with this stats. His HP is a little bit low for my taste, but running the leader skill plus the HP tower, he's up there in that 30k mark, so he stays pretty darn tanky. And again, with Kumar in this mix, it's not something that somebody's going to come at me and Lushen, because they're going to have to deal with the Kumar afterwards. So it's a pretty safe bet. Let's take a look. Let's see. Orion is the next one, and probably my favorite unit out of all my units out there. Probably one of my better Rune units here. So we got ourselves speed, HP, defense, running the Violent Will. Just kind of going for overall stats, a little bit lower on the HP, but again, I'm running the defensive Rune. I'm really happy where I'm at with the resistance aspect and the accuracy. As you guys know, running the violent set on Orion in Guild Wars is one of the things that people like to do. But if you're running the violent set, you're not going to generally have that first turn. So for me, it is important to consider the fact of resistance after the first turn, in addition to accuracy. So if I want to start resisting the opponent afterwards, I want to have a decent amount of resistance. In addition to that, the Orion on the violent set is known to go ham, so I want him to have a decent amount of accuracy to do that while not sacrificing accuracy on 6. I want to be able to do it with the defense or HP runes, so I can keep him a little bit more tanky. So overall, these runes allow me to do that, and like I said, I'm really happy with this unit. I still need some grindstones to complete this, so I can make him even more tanky. But until that time goes, I'm okay, because again, he is definitely holding his ground offensively as well as defensively, and I'm super excited to get him to where he is today. Next one up, it is Kumar. Kumar, we made the changes about 2 months ago for Violent Revenge to Violent Nemesis. We actually brought down his hit points about 3k, brought down his critical rate about 13 critical rate, and his critical damage just a little bit, but we upped his speed by plus 15. So having a little bit higher speed to get right in line with my Orion, I still need more speed to be in sync, but that's a little bit better, a little bit closer on the speed gap. Plus having the ability to have the attack bar increase as you take damage is pretty darn nice. So overall, I'm really happy with the Violent Nemesis set. I did get a new rune on stream. Some of you guys might have seen it, so I possibly could get him on the Violent Will set. But again, I'm taking a look at all the overall rune substats. I'm going to be losing a little bit of speed. I'm going to be losing a little bit of other stuff. So we'll see what happens. But there is a possibility that he will change to a Violent Will down the road. Let's see here. So Veromos, Orion, Kumar is one team that I take on. I take it out on a multitude of teams. That's kind of literally like the general team that I use if I'm not using like a Charlotte Mega Lushen. Versus any the top 5 guilds, they love to run the Seara Orion X comp. Versus that, I utilize Jultan, Kumar, and Chloe. I mean, Jultan, Beastmont, Chloe is obviously just a general composition that's good. But in this particular instance, running a Swift Shield Chloe, trying to get that first turn and taking advantage of Jultan's speed lead, plus the shield set is going to give me 3 beneficial effects for Orion to go for. So that's why I run the shield versus the will set. I do struggle sometimes with some people out there running, very fast Orions, plus the CR lead or whatnot. But for the most part, I kind of know who I'm going up against. I kind of know their speeds because I play with them for so much, and so I generally am pretty safe when it comes to that. So in addition to that, if I don't get the first turn, I'm going to have the will on the unit that matters the most, Jultan, running the Violent Will, speed, HP. Now his stats have really taken a hit. His HP is generally at that 35k range, and defense was at about 1,000. It's taken a little toll, just for the fact that I'm trying to improve some of the other units that I've gotten new. The newest unit was Baretta that you guys saw me pull when I pulled Seara. I actually had to pull some runes off of Jultan and like Verdehile and a couple other units just to get Seara and Baretta to where I needed to be. So I'm gonna be playing around with these runes to probably get them on a double revenge will setup. But overall, I'm kind of happy with the stats. I used to love a violent will on this set, but now I want to get away from the violent will because I don't want him to proc out of the will if I'm going up against the CR, because I definitely want to make CR waste her bomb the first turn. Kind of going back to that Seara team, now that we're utilizing Seara, one of the YOLO teams that I did leave out is the Seara, Orion, Theomars. Orion goes first, Theomars follows up with a defense break, and then Seara go ahead and bomb her away. She was speed, attack, but I had to take the speed rune off 2 slot and go for the attack so that I can get my newest unit, my newest 6-star, throwing the bombs prior to. So we got myself some Malaka. Okay, Malaka running the Fatal Focus here, speed, attack. My Fatal runes are really, really hurting, so it took a lot to kind of get this to where I'm at. Accuracy is pretty darn hurting. I want about 15% more accuracy there, but overall, I'm kind of happy with the stats considering that the runes that I generally people rune him with. I don't have a lot of them, and I was able to get him, runed up without too much, too much work or whatnot. So it is going to be kind of nice to give you guys a different aspect of the runes and units that I'm going to be using there. Some more bomb teams, whether I'm doing it in the arena or Guild Wars, we'll be mixing it up. But versus the top 5 guilds, you probably will see me use Seara, Orion, Theo more so than Seara, Malika. Just for the fact that a lot of people are running the will on there. So unless I bring some kind of buff, stripper to remove the will runes, I'm gonna have to essentially bring a composition like Seara, Malika, and Chloe, so that I can basically soak the first turn and then follow up with the bombs after that. So that is pretty much it for the Guild War decks. The only other ones that I've used in the past, Theomars, Orion, Chasun. That's always good if I need to run, a healer with that aspect. But I kind of like to gamble a little bit more with regards to my YOLO approaches, because again, I kind of know where all my units stand. Some of the units, I ruined a couple of different ones here for life PvP. Those are, let's see, we got here. Draco's already rude. I use him in the Guild Wars as well. Speed, hit point, but I'm going to be using him a little bit more in the live PvP. We got ourselves Jubel. We'll be making some changes over to Violent Will, but right now Revenge Will. Speed, hit point. Playing around with him. You guys saw in the previous stream, I was messing around with Draco, Jubel, and Ariel. Ariel is a lot more tankier now with a good amount of defense there, running 2,000 defense, speed, defense, HP, violent guard. Overall, I'm happy with the stats. Could prove the resistance or critical rate a little bit, but yeah, overall it's good. And when it comes into play in the fights, after the HP leaders go from Draco and the HP tower comes into play, I am looking at about 30k HP. So even if I do decide to run this on the defensive aspect, I'm generally going to have enough hit points to soak a Lushen if a Lushen decides to go with it. But obviously, I'm going to be setting up my team to trap him and make sure that if he wants to run a Lushen and possibly take out the Ariel, he's going to have to deal with a lot of issues with regards to my other 2 units that I'm bringing to the table. So, stay tuned for that. We're going to be seeing some more of that. And then I'll go ahead and just kind of mention the last few units here that I haven't mentioned in any of my teams. We got Tyron here, part of the TOA mix, speed, critical damage, attack. So again, for those that are familiar with TOA hard, there's a lot of compositions that people utilize to clear stages relatively easy. One of those compositions is the like a CC team. So my CC team is essentially built with tons of stuns, tons of freezes, tons of dots, and just rotating those skills as much as I can and having everybody locked down. My composition is Tyron, Baretta, Jamire, Veromos, and Thrain. So you've already seen Veromos and Tyron. Baretta, Despair again, speed, HP, accuracy here. Nothing crazy there, just running a high amount of speed, high amount of accuracy. Jamire, just really crappy runes to be honest with you. Basically just making it as tanky as possible and slower than everybody else, because I want everybody else to use their skills and then him reset afterwards. I don't want anyone to cut him. I don't want him to cut in front of anybody. Veromos, you've already seen. And then Thrain, still 5-star, but get it done. Any stage of TOA hard that I need to bring a CC unit, this is good because I still have everything locked down. I don't feel the need to 6-star these units, so I'm perfectly happy with that. Again, a good amount of accuracy there on Violent. You definitely want to have him on Violent and reduce those cooldown times on the during the times that Jamire's skill is not available. Overall, a great team out there. So if you're having struggles with with certain levels that you're just trying to pummel through, consider using a AOE CC kind of comp that could definitely do some wonders. Thrain's obviously a great unit for that. All these daughters are a great unit for that. If you don't have Thrain, you can use the water version, Hemos, if you don't have that one. Let's see here. The other units that I have Rune here that we haven't discussed. Spectra is also part of that TOA hard team. I use him for the boss. Speed, critical rate, accuracy there. 100% critical rate, 100% accuracy. We got ourselves Leica. Utilize him for life PvP. Hybrid build, attack, crit damage, HP. I just been having fun with the hybrid build. People are going for him thinking they can get one shot and they can't one shot him. So I like the particular stats that I have on there. Trevor, as you guys saw, the Ardella had the vampire runes from Trevor, so we have ourselves a secondary set of vampire runes in addition to revenge runes. I can't believe I actually had enough runes to fill it up. I thought he was just going to be runeless for a while, but I was able to get some runes on here. He's a little bit less HP, about 2k less HP, an extra 250 attack power, a little bit less critical rate, but I mean we have that critical buff, so we're going to be good in that aspect. Overall, I'm excited that he's re-runed because he is a fun unit to use. Definitely going to play around with him with regards to life PvP, so stay tuned for that. I think everything else on the top here has been runed up. I won't really talk about arena defense teams all too much because again I'm focused on my B10, my R5, and my Guild Wars, but Vanessa is one of the units that I have here. Triple HP. I generally like to run HP, defense, HP, but because she's not the main focus, I have one of her defense runes on another one of my units. But again, an amazing unit out there. My arena defense is Vanessa, Orion, Veromos, Kumar. Does pretty darn well. Let's see here. We'll take a look at this last list here. Brienne, another TOA unit out there for my just slow, like tanky bruiser kind of a comp. I generally like to run Veromos, Ariel, Brienne, Bella, and Kumar. That is my auto team for most stages of the game. For TOA hard, I like to just run that in the auto. And then, depending on what stages I need, I may use Chandra in combination with Darian. Chandra's skill, the defend, being able to hug any unit, doesn't matter really the element there, and you're going to bring the element of the that is going to attract the opponent on the stage. So most notably the mono element stages, those dark stages and whatnot that everyone focuses on, whether it's light or dark. I can use Chandra to hug my Veromos or my Darian, and I'm with Darian not being on a violent set, it's going to allow me to keep that defend buff on quite a bit. I did skip over Pungback. Pungback is just rune now for the world boss. Nothing really crazy going on here. I just have better AoE units right now that I'm focusing on, and other certain combos that I find more value in. I could have made an argument for him, utilizing him in other aspects of the game, but he is. I have now the Seara, bomber kind of comp, so I think when it comes to arena, I'll probably play around with the bombs over him. But we'll see. That's pretty much it. We got ourselves Basalt here, HP defense here, well-rounded stats. Got to make them tanky enough on both sides, HP and defense, so that I can take some of those hits on those TOA hard boss stages. He's one of my clutch units. I do use the Mav every now and again if I need a second provoker or a second unit to reset, restore those cooldown times. His first skill with a stun, second skill provoke is really darn strong. Provoking without having to hit the opponent is really darn strong. So if you don't have a Mav, definitely take a look at that down the road. He's a really great unit. So I believe I covered everyone. I'm taking a quick look here to see if I did. If you have any questions in regards to any of my units, please feel free to hit me down there in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's your boy ChildishPlays checking out. We will see you in the next video. I'm out.